Nigerian Governors Forum has condemned last week's gun attack on the country home of Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma. In a statement issued by the chairman of the forum and governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, the governors declared that the attackers only constitute a small league of persons trying to harm Nigeria's corporate existence, adding that the perpetrators took criminality too far and must be brought to face justice. Dr. Bati, your comments on this?
No, let's start with Tuno. Tuno, over to you. You start first.
As usual. It's just such a litany of evil going on in this country. There's Imo State, there's Kaduna State. One doesn't even know where to begin, quite frankly. And it's the threadbare assurances, the threats of, the perpetrators will be found and brought to justice and what have you, are just ringing so hollow at this point. What we need is action. If Christians are not safe worshiping in a church in Kaduna State, if police officers are not safe manning checkpoints that are supposed to protect their fellow Nigerians, if they are being beheaded and burnt to ashes, then what hope is there for everybody else?
Well, let's contextualize this. We're told that on Saturday, a joint task force operation team of the military, soldiers, the police, and the Department of State Security, the DSS, decided to launch an attack on the headquarters of IPOB, the Indigenous Peoples of Biafra headquarters at a place called Awurama. And when they attacked the place, they ended up, in the process, killing 7 persons, including a man called Ikunso Commander. Ikunso Commander is said to be one of the strategic commanders of IPOB. 6 others also fell. And now there were also persons on the other side, about 3 agents of the state security operatives who were also killed. Now, this was supposed to be some kind of retaliatory, preemptive strike. But the same day, that same Saturday, we also had an attack on the home of the governor of Imo State. That's Hope Uzodinma. His house was burned down. His very exotic, luxurious, what do they call these vehicles? Some expensive vehicle, Rolls Royce, was also destroyed. And we're told that in the process, at least 1 or 2 lives were also lost. What all of this indicates is the crisis of security in Nigeria and the creeping anarchy, particularly in the southeastern part of the country. You will recall that on April 5, when there were attacks on police stations, the prison, and an attempt on the government house in Owerri, and in neighboring Abia State, Governor Ikpeazu trying to lock down Aba and Umuahia. The position of the police at that time was that IPOB was responsible. IPOB rejected it. Now, but the same IPOB now, through Emma Powerful, has issued a statement to say that Governor Hope Uzodinma is not safe. So is there a connection between April 5 and the attack over the weekend on Governor Uzodinma's house, and also the retaliatory attack, if we may say so, by security agencies, the military, the soldiers, and also the police? So we have a very difficult situation on our hands. What we're facing is an escalation of insecurity in the country. What we are now faced with in the eastern region, southeastern region, is a situation where the governors no longer feel safe. Over the weekend, Ohaneze Ndigbo had to hold a meeting. Security agencies had to hold a meeting. Now they are protecting the country homes of governors in the southeast. The governor of Imo, the governor of Abia, because IPOB has now issued a threat, again through Emma Powerful, that Hope Uzodinma is not safe. And that he will get a message, a stink. That's how Emma Powerful put it, from IPOB. Okay, now we have a country where governors that are called chief security officers of the state are no longer safe in their region. The situation that you have in the southeast is the same situation we have in the northwest, that we have in the northeast, even in the southwest. There are non-state actors who are saying, look, if you campaign for any position in Nigeria, we will deal with you. Now, what is government doing? Let's go back to the residual point. What is government doing about security? I think that the Nigerian government should look at all of this as a message, a very strong message. The signal is not from IPOB, is not to Uzodinma. The signal is actually to President Muhammadu Buhari. This thing that they are promising is actually something that the president, who is the chief security officer of Nigeria, the commander-in-chief of the security forces, must attend to. And I hope that the necessary resources will be provided. Yes, the military, they've jubilated that IPOB members were killed. The police have also said, oh, you know, you have done very well. But how about the long-term effect? Particularly the effect in terms of how this thing can escalate to such a level that the most vulnerable persons will be powerless people like us, defenseless people like us, poor people like us, who will be at the mercy of non-state actors who want to make their point. So all of this is about the fragility of the Nigerian state. All of this is about the need for government to wake up. All of this is about generalized insecurity in Nigeria. And we can only ask and plead that those that Nigerians have voted for will use the instruments of state to ensure security for the Nigerian people, because it's very scary, it's very frightening, and it is not surprising that countries are now issuing travel advisory against Nigeria. The US has just issued a travel advisory against Nigeria, telling people where to go and where not to go. So those of us who are here, where do we go? We have become hostages, captives, you know, in our own country. And I think it's sad, well, to use Rufai's favorite phrase. And I think it's, you know, scary. And I think it's unfortunate.
I think what is instructive, and as a country, were the words of Wole Soyinka over the weekend, the statement he issued. And he said, let's not beat around the bush as a country, that there is a war. We are at a state of war. And he went further to talk about the kidnappings of children, youth, pupils, you know, also all aspects of society. Anybody can be kidnapped at any point in time. And he used the word, we are fast becoming or making our youth martyrs in all of this bloodshed going on in the country. And I think it's time for all of us to come together and sit tall, and most importantly, the leadership should put the conversation on the table as regards peace and harmony in the country. Because if we don't do that, then we wouldn't have a country in any time soon. It's looking like that already. The hurt is too much. A lot of people are festering with pain in their hearts. Dr. Bati, you were talking about the fact that we will be subject to, you know, the non-state actors. Aren't we already? Can you pick up your car and drive to Benin any longer? You can't, because you'll be scared. You have to go with a police escort. Even with a police escort, you're not sure. I heard the other day they killed 8 police officers. There are some people with police escort, they'll kill their escort, they'll still kidnap them. That's what the country has become. And all of this must go down. All of this must stop if we all have to build our country, because this is the only land we've got. And please, we are all, you know, calling on the government as Nigerians to do the needful. If it's to have conversations with the warring parts. But we need peace, most importantly, in this country, because this cannot just continue.
Anyway.
All right. Thank you so much.
It shall be well with Nigeria.
Yes, it shall
as
be
they
well.
say it.
That's all on News Headline. We take a short break. Now, when we return, we have Rotus Sudiri, Michael Wilson, Adesu Omora, Aaron Akerjala to give us updates on Africa, global business, COVID-19, sporting activities across the globe. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to the morning show on the Rise News channel. Rotus, how's it going, my friend?
I'm doing well, Rufai. Good morning to you. Good morning, Doctor. Good morning, Tundu.
Good morning.
I'm essentially continuing your conversation that you're having right now. This issue of banditry, insecurity spilled over into the private sector. Very interesting here. Katsina State is apparently using dogs to guard schools. Now, I want you to take a look at this breed of dogs that they're using here. I'm not sure how much confidence this is going to put into anyone, but the Commissioner for Education in Katsina State, Dr. Badamasi Charanchi, he was asked about this. Let's take a listen to what he said about using these dogs.
You see, ducks or dog, being what they are animals, and by their nature and built-in capacity or mechanism, I think, and by their performance worldwide. So this is to say they can smell far away than human beings, especially objects and persons.
About now again, I think those are mongrels, but but a dog is a dog, right? They're supposed to be some of the most intelligent animals, along with pigs and dolphins and orangutans or something. So at least you can train that breed you can train that breed to at least to defend you. These are Alsatians. But let's listen to what he said when he was asked about dog training, when he was asked about whether they're being trained.
German Shepherds have an average lifespan of 9 to 14 years. Many of them can reach the upper side of this if they are properly bred.
Okay, so we don't. Okay, so I guess we don't have that. But what happened? He was asked about proper training of those dogs, and he said that they have an innate ability to spot evil, and apparently what they're supposed to be used for is just to, I guess, spot bandits when they arrive. Now, you've seen proper breeds of dogs being those German Shepherds and so on and so forth, which are what are supposed to be used. But should we be discussing using guard dogs in schools? What about using tech to be able to combat the terrorism? I want you to take a look at this gentleman, Richard Browning. Richard Browning is an entrepreneur in the United Kingdom. This is a jet suit that he put together. It's a jet propulsion pack that allows him to essentially fly. He's like Iron Man from the Avengers. Now, he could easily use this tech as a vanity project for wealthy people to show off to their friends, to fly off on holidays. But he has actually engaged the Netherlands, the government of the Netherlands, to test out this tech. So here you can see these are the members of the Netherlands Maritime Special Forces, where they are using his technology. It's a prototype. It's not available yet for sale or anything, but they are testing it along their waters. This makes me think of the Gulf of Guinea. And you know, the Gulf of Guinea is prone to piracy. It is one of the reasons why oil and gas companies that are doing oil exploration in our waters, shallow waters, have pulled out because of the rampant piracy. But you can see members of the Netherlands Maritime Special Forces testing out his tech not only on their waters but also on land. So you have to ask yourself now, with Rufai saying a few minutes ago that Nigeria is at war, Governor El Rufai saying that we should be using drones to be able to patrol these schools and fish out these bandits. Is it beyond Nigeria to call a man like this Browning and say, look, we want to test your tech? Because normally, if you think about the gentleman that was saved from the United States in Niger, with the border in Nigeria, a helicopter was used from a distance. They are noisy. Is it beyond Africa's largest economy to engage the private sector, use technology to reduce this banditry? Because that video, those dogs you're seeing, is being ridiculed right now. And it would be funny. It would be funny if it wasn't for the fact that we had 3 students in Kaduna that died, right? Mm-hmm. So, you have to wonder, is this a case of funding, or is this a case of a lack of exposure, or, because it's spilling into the private sector, and this just doesn't instill any confidence at all.
All right. Rotus, for me, it's obvious. When you don't invest in science and technology over time in the world, then you face problems like this. You can talk about other countries of the world because they invest in science and technology. The internet we all use today was from NASA, DARPA, the DARPA project. Before Tim Berners-Lee, that was also working at a government company called Center for Research in Europe, CERN, also did the hypertext markup language that we had the World Wide Web in 1990, 1991. All of these major scientific breakthroughs are government investment. Even your touchscreen on your phone is a government investment. Rotus, we don't even need to go far. If we invest in science enough, I can see in the nearest future, some Nigerians can be able to create that same suit and use for the military. There has to be a crossbreed of idea. But when you say you want to bring out dogs, like it's a ridicule. It's sad, but even I was laughing here in the studio. It's quite funny. But it just shows us that we need to put more money in tech. And that's why I can't understand. When people are doing things in the tech space, when they are setting up, companies to trade and online, you ban them, you regulate them, you shut them out. We need to improve the study of STEM in this country to be able to help our military, to be able to help our fight against insurgency. I will have favored every school have a little control center and they control a drone. And they have a little surveillance system where the drone is constantly taking pictures every day of the area. And the drone can take pictures when it sees bandits and alert the control center to be able to deploy military there.
Okay, very quickly, it's as follows. It's good to use technology. That's very important. We're in a different age of war, different from World War I, World War II, and increasingly we have seen countries reducing the deployment of personnel but deploying technology. And there's no doubt that technology will help in the fight against insecurity in Nigeria. However, the story from Katsina State, as articulated by Dr. Badamasi Charanchi, who is the Commissioner of Education, is likely to look funny. So let us unpack it. One, dogs have been used in wars, in war situations since World War I. The German Shepherds became very famous, up to the point that you had dogs from other territories, taking part in the war as companion to soldiers to fight battles. We have seen we have seen dogs being given medals in war. We have seen all kinds of movies about the role played by dogs in war situations. What is problematic about the Katsina situation is that it's presented as a comment on the capability of the Nigerian military. We cannot secure our schools. The soldiers cannot secure our schools. The police cannot secure our schools. And then we have these dogs that they have spent over 300 million naira to procure. I don't know how many in terms of number. We should ask questions with regard to transparency and accountability in that regard. These ones look like dogs from Akwa Ibom and Ondo, rather than the kind of, German Shepherds or Dobermans or Chips, the kind of dogs that we have seen used in war situations. Now, this is like a comment, in my view, on the inefficiency, the lack of capacity of the Nigerian police and the Nigerian military. So I don't know whether this is sarcasm coming from the home state of the president of Nigeria. Now, in other places where they use dogs, they use them as support elements. Right. So you still need the personnel. You still need soldiers on the ground. You still need policemen on the ground. The efficiency of the security agencies will still be very important. This is Dr. Charanchi talking about dogs can smell, dogs can perceive. He's practically saying that dogs are better than human beings in Nigeria when it comes to security. So I hope they will deploy those same dogs in Ondo State and also in Akwa Ibom State and also in Cross River State, where a dog is a special delicacy. 404. So I really don't know. There's so much lack of intellect, so much lack of wisdom, so much lack of informed attitude, in the way we run Nigeria. So I don't think that the dog solution is a solution that will solve Nigeria's security problem. But somebody has already probably approved 300 million. We hope that those dogs will not disappear. And now again, they've told the Boko Haramis, the bandits, the terrorists, that they are deploying dogs. Those dogs will be the first target when they launch their next attack. So I really don't know. Why do we just recruit unintelligent people to run this country?
I don't know.
It's embarrassing.
Quite embarrassing. It really is. It really, really
All
is.
right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so
We'll
much.
move on to Michael Wilson. Michael, great to have you. Global Business Report. How are you doing, Michael?
Good morning. Very well, thank you. I should be in the theme of what you've been talking about, referring to the animal spirits of the markets, but unfortunately, it's not like that at all. Steady increase in COVID-19 cases, which I know you'll reflect on later in the programme. And it's also undermining that sort of cyclical recovery that many people have actually priced into their portfolio. So they're having to look at that. So when you're seeing a bit of selling, that's really what it's about. The Biden administration in the United States has said it will make raw materials needed for India's coronavirus infection battle. It'll help them. That comes after Britain, France, and Germany. India is experiencing, and again, I know you will be reflecting on this, a staggering rise in coronavirus infections. The cumulative total is now 17 million people in India. So, as far as Asia markets are concerned, then they didn't actually worry too much about that. Asia Pacific basically fairly flat, actually, and reflecting mainly what happened in the last hours of trading in the United States on Friday. Huawei's interesting this morning, a change of tack. It's boosting its efforts in areas like cloud computing and smart cars and so on, hoping to be a larger part of its revenue mix in the future. The pivot of that is basically because what's happened in the United States is that US sanctions on Huawei have caused smartphone sales to plunge, and therefore they're moving into software. They want to insulate itself from political geopolitics and any further actions from the United States. So let's turn to the United States then and talk about US earnings and the week coming up. Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, Facebook, and Spotify will be coming out with their results during the week. Threats of maybe the market suffering because of the attack on big tech, easing of the Zoom boom and so on. It was notable that the US markets actually put behind them all the business about the Biden tax increases on Friday, the worries about what they would do for the corporate world and so on. So it's a big data week coming up. I'll go through it in a second for you. FOMC will be, that's the big one. They will be uber dovish again, once again. They're not really going to hear a great deal of them. I think changing tack in the same way that we talked about the ECB changing maybe until June, July this year, when we've had a further look at what's actually going on. Is it the height of SPAC? Is SPAC over? We're looking at Grab now. We're looking at the Grab. It's the ride-hailing delivery service which is founded in the Far East. It's merging with SPAC company Altimeter to go public in July, and you have it. I'm listening to people saying, but its valuation is $40 billion. Where else would that happen apart from on Wall Street? The early investors won't care about it too much. But after 10 years, Grab is still not making any money. So is this going to be peak SPAC? Is this the top of this present craze, and will we go back to normality? Not sure. I would just go back to that old saw that I keep telling you about. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. As far as COVID vaccinations are concerned, US is doing reasonably well. A top European Union official has said that Americans can, if they prepare to show where they've been vaccinated, and it's approved, and 3 of the American ones have been approved by the European Commission, then their President Ursula von der Leyen has told the New York Times that 27 countries would accept unconditionally those who are vaccinated from New York should they wish to visit. I'm interested in the EU. Now, Mario Draghi will present his big 200 billion euro package. I'm thinking that this state aid is going to be a bit of a problem for other economies around the world, particularly now we're out of Brexit, the UK. If you look at some of the airlines, for example, like Alitalia or Air France, KLM, Lufthansa, those airlines, which, and we are looking at airlines right now because they are symptomatic, obviously, of travel, and that's a good thing in these kind of days. They're getting a lot of state aid, and yet things like British Airways are not, and neither are some of the domestic privately owned US carriers. So there's a lot of competition coming from Europe. Whether or not the WTO, and you know why I'm mentioning this, of course, ought to get involved, I think it probably should. I think that state aid under these kind of circumstances is relatively unfair. If the WTO is like it normally is, it'll take years to resolve this, but I do think it's a big trade issue. A bit of domestic drama from the UK. You will have heard probably about the post office scandal here, where sub-postmasters were adopting this. Well, there she is, the former chief executive of the post office, is now to quit the roles that she's taken on after that, including Dunelm and so on. She was the post office boss from 2012 to 2019. She stopped working as a Church of England minister. These sub-postmasters, it's a terrible scandal. It's actually, some legal people were saying on Friday, after they got their result in the High Court, this is the worst miscarriage of justice they have ever seen. Very simply put, sub-postmasters, little post offices run by people, were locked into this computer system called Horizon, which was effectively accusing them of stealing money. It didn't. There was just something wrong with the system. But it caused one suicide. It caused some people went to jail as a result of this. It's a huge scandal, and nobody so far has been brought to book. This is what happens when you have public companies like the Post Office. Even though Royal Mail is quoted, the Post Office itself is a public company, and nobody is taking responsibility for it. They will, because journalists will catch them, but that's to them. Anyway, she's standing down. Something that's happening locally to us, and it's happening all the way through the Great Britain, is the theft of catalytic converters on cars. Now, most cars actually use them. The value of the metals in them, including platinum and rhodium, obviously fetch huge prices on the black market at the moment, and those thefts are up. They're very, very difficult to do. The thieves are extremely daring. They'll come during the night and just whip these things off your car whilst it's in your drive. There we go. It's an extraordinary story, and that's something which continues. A lot of political shenanigans going on here. We're going to hear, as you know, more from the head of the civil service and so on, who actually said what to whom, refurbishments of the Prime Minister's flats, people taking businesses, the politicians going into business when they shouldn't, and all the rest of it. I mention this only because it's a huge political scandal here. Markets do not care one jot. They don't care about it if it doesn't involve money. If it's only about political problems, they're not interested. Is it affecting overseas investment? No, it is not. People are still looking at the progress of vaccine in the UK and thinking it's rather good. So I mention it only because it's on the front page of all newspapers. You'll be swamped in this kind of stuff. It's having no effect on the markets whatsoever. Oil remains in range mode, basically. What are we talking? $66 a barrel, WTI to 62. So it's within this 60 to 70 thing. Gold is suffering because some of the more precious metals like palladium, I mentioned those before, are actually much higher. And a big week for data. I told you about the various companies. Bank of Japan, FOMC, German IFO, and those big technical company reports. A lot to get our teeth into this week. I look forward to it. That's the Global View on a Monday morning.
Michael, two quick things. First, Amazon. Unite, the workers' union in the UK, is asking Amazon to sign what they call a neutrality declaration. Now, would Jeff Bezos agree to that? You know, on this program with you, we had accused Jeff Bezos in his last statement to shareholders of hypocrisy when he was talking about being committed to the interest of the workers. And is this, response from Unite in the UK some kind of copycat response following on the heels of what happened in Bessemer, Alabama, in the United States? That's one. The second one has to do with travel bubble. Singapore and Hong Kong have declared, the elimination of quarantine rules between both countries, and travels are supposed to start to promote tourism. This is coming after that Australian-New Zealand deal with regard to travel bubble. Is this the way ahead? considering the fact that in Japan there is a third wave, in India there is a third wave, and there are concerns about the behavior of the COVID-19 pandemic. Is the aviation industry more committed to profit rather than safety?
I would like, after all this is over, for the World Health Organization to explain why it did not recommend that every country should close its borders. It didn't do that. It was recommended from the World Health Organization, of all these kind of bodies, that borders should be kept open. So it's been left, effectively, the World Health Organization, that overarching bureaucracy, did not get its advice right. When things closed down, Australia closed down, New Zealand closed down, Taiwan closed down, China closed down, for heaven's sake, didn't it? Where we think all this originated from. I think that these travel bubbles are absolutely fine, but they're very, very isolating. And I think that passengers who are actually traveling in those do so at their own risk. I mean, not just because of catching anything, but because things can change rapidly. You're absolutely right. This situation, even though we've been looking at India this morning, we understand in Mumbai and Delhi that the figures are getting slightly better. You talk to other people in the market saying, no, it's far too soon to make any judgments about this. I think the travel bubbles are quite a good idea, but if it were me, I just would not be traveling. I don't want to get caught up in a change of decision that might see me marooned somewhere, or having to pay a lot of money when I come back to this country to go into a hotel to be isolated for 14 days. So I don't know whether that answers your question, but I do find those things are a temporary sticking plaster on the problem that is still sweeping the world. It's all about vaccines.
Well, I still want your comment on Amazon and Unite.
Amazon, yes. Yes, certainly. I think that if I were Jeff Bezos, I would be worrying about this. He's also concerning himself about workers' injuries as well. If Unite wants to get involved, and this is what the problem was in the United States, give them their due. Amazon did say to them, if you want to get involved in unions, then you're going to have to be paying more money from your wages because you have to pay union dues. My thought about it is, if Unite wants to get involved, then it should. They're building an Amazon warehouse very close to where I am right now. And they're talking, and the planners are saying to the local council, this is going to bring thousands of jobs. Well, it will. It'll bring thousands of jobs of people who are stacking shelves, but these are not careers. Yes. And if you want a career and you're part of a union, then you've got to take on the management and say, all right, we want a place on the board. Then we'll start to talk. Yeah. So it's the unions accepting responsibility. It is, after all, whether you like it or not, a business. If you're a union, you want to get involved in that.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite very apt, Michael, what you said there about them really sticking up for themselves. And it's because joining a union is a fine balancing act, and it's not as easy as a lot of people say, especially in the gig economy where we live. But I want to ask you about Italy. Italy has gone this way before. They feel the best way to come out of this economic quagmire they are in is to borrow more money. And Mario Draghi is going ahead to borrow more money. And we all know how the slippery slope Italy will have to go through when they borrow more money because, like you said the other time, their taxes are not in place. It's not just run effectively as a government. What is going to be the difference this time around with Italy borrowing more money? And secondly, I'm scared about America's growth because as it grows, the interest rate keeps burgeoning up. And that's bad news for us here in Africa and investors coming into the economy here.
I think we'll wait on the judgment about interest rates, if we may, for a couple of weeks, if not maybe a couple of months, because again we're going to see spikes of inflation, and we're going to see. But you see, the SPAC thing, I think, is running out of steam. That kind of stuff is clearly potentially inflationary. So I can't answer your question straight away. I prefer to wait and see what happens when we've got a better view of what's actually happening. As far as the United States is concerned, and therefore interest rates and the rest of it. I don't think we're going to see, well, who am I to say? The people I talk to say they have no expectation of interest rates, and these are senior economists talking to me, whom I know and have sort of grown up with, and they're saying no interest rate rises in the United States. They may be threatened, but only because it helps people think that central bankers are doing a good job. What was your first question?
Italy was about Italy, yeah.
Exactly. If it were borrowing money, I wouldn't be too worried because there's a vague chance of that going back. I think the worst thing is it's actually getting grants which don't necessarily get paid back. And it is with Italy, with Spain, the biggest recipient of that huge tranche of money, which has only been half spent. I think that, number one, it will give Italy unfair advantage, as I said about state aid. Will it be squandered? I don't know. They have a very, very strong tradition, not only of corruption, that number one, which we all know about, but secondly, about being able to spend. Here's the thing. So you get in your car eventually when it's all over. I'd be very pleased to show you. And you drive from the top of Italy all the way down to the south of Italy, to the toe of the boot, if you like. And you will be going on beautiful roads all the way down. And you'll get to Puglia, which is the last sort of bit before the toe. And you'll be looking at another motorway alongside you. And that's what they got from a previous grant from the EU. It wasn't necessary, but they took the money. It was a development grant. So I do feel as though it's a beautiful place. I love the people, love the food. The problem is that they can spend money, and they will. And I worry about it like you do.
All right, lots of things to worry about. Well, thank you so much for your time. Michael Wilson there joining us from London. For updates on COVID-19 pandemic, we'll move quickly to Deswa Moro. Deswa?
Well, good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Dr. Abati, and good morning, Tundun.
Yeah.
Michael is definitely right about the increase in coronavirus cases across the globe, especially in India, which has seen a fourth record day of infections and death. The coronavirus deaths across the world have now surpassed 3.1 million, and infections, at least 146 million people have now been infected by the virus. Here in Nigeria, 35 new infections were recorded in 6 states. Lagos reported more than half of those cases. And Nigeria recorded 1 death after 12 days of no confirmed related COVID-19 deaths in the country. Let's take a quick look at the vaccination in the country against coronavirus. Over 1.17 million people have now been vaccinated out of the a little over 4 million vaccine doses we currently have in Nigeria. So there's definitely an uptick in some states. Some states like Lagos, we know, have stopped so that they can fully vaccinate those who have received their first jabs. And still in Nigeria, amid the escalating cases and deaths in India, as well as other countries, a group of eminent experts in the country in medicine and related fields such as virology, epidemiology, and microbiology is urging the federal government of Nigeria to temporarily shut the nation's international airports to flights from high-burden countries for at least 2 weeks. They are citing countries such as India. Now, in that urgent advisory issued yesterday, the Academy of Medicine Specialties of Nigeria, through its president, Professor Oladapo Ashiru, noted that the ongoing transmission in the country was caused largely by those inbound passengers from India and those countries with surges in cases reported daily. The group is also warning that a third wave is imminent and the government needs to be proactive. Now, Professor Ashiru also revealed that his team have found 5 sequences of the Indian B1617, also known as the double mutant variant in the country. Specifically, they said they found them in Edo and Osun states. Now, other recommendations by this group include maintaining the gold standard PCR-based testing strategy and the enforcement of non-pharmaceutical protocols of social distancing, wearing of face masks, and of course, washing of hands or using sanitizers. Now, let me tell you, should Nigeria ban the flights by heeding to this advice, she will only be joining a growing list of countries that are already doing so. But the question is, will the federal government heed this advice, and when? Outside of Nigeria, let me tell you that international efforts are underway to help India as the country suffers critical oxygen shortages and a devastating surge in COVID cases. The UK began sending ventilators and oxygen concentrator devices. The US as well. The EU members are also due to send aid. Now, the US is very interesting. Let me tell you why. There was an export ban on COVID-19 vaccine raw materials placed in February in the US, meaning that there will be no export of any materials to be used to produce vaccines to any other country. However, because of the situation in India, the US is now temporarily lifting that ban to send materials to India to be able to produce enough vaccines. Also suspending old rivalry. Pakistan and China have both promised to help India. Others who are reaching out to India at this time include Australia, Singapore, France, And the list is long. This is coming a day when Prime Minister Narendra Modi described the second wave in the country as a storm that has shaken the nation. India on Sunday recorded the world's highest figures, over 340,000 cases in just 24 hours. And of course, over 2,700 deaths as well. Elsewhere, finally this morning, Iraqi Prime Minister Al-Hakadimi suspended the health minister and referred him for investigation after a fire at a Baghdad hospital killed at least 82 people and injured 110 others. Now, reports suggest that the explosion was likely caused by a poorly handled oxygen cylinder, and the death toll was high because, again, family members were more than the patients in the ICU. There are no regulations put in place to ensure that even the response they are getting in the country is effective to curb the virus. So how you have more family members in the ICU than those who should actually be there is questionable.
Well,
this
very
is most
quickly.
Unfortunate.
Okay, Tono,
yeah.
you go ahead.
It's really unfortunate, the incident that happened in the hospital, and you raise a very important point about family members being in the hospital, because we have that tendency here in Nigeria. It's our culture to go in huge, congregations and a massive entourage. If somebody's in hospital, we really need to, take heed to cases like this. And about India, whether it's out of altruism or enlightened self-interest, I'm just glad that the world seems to be rising up to help India. They need the help, and they deserve it, seeing as they were quite generous to us in Nigeria when they gave us, donated vaccines to Nigeria. However, we also have to be kind to ourselves. And I do agree with that call from Dr. Ashiru that the government should ban flights from India. It's an absolute must. And you asked when it should happen yesterday. If we've learned anything at all from what happened last year on the onset of the pandemic, it is that we should not wait for India to be the one to close their airspace. Other countries need to take action to protect their citizens.
Okay, let me start with India.
Yes.
Now, India cannot breathe. That's the title of one article that I read, because they have issues with oxygen supply.
Yes.
And a New Delhi court on Saturday had to rule that anybody that blocks the supply of oxygen to hospitals will be hanged. That same hospital, described what is, that same court described what is happening in India at the moment as a tsunami. So what they have in India, a country of 1.3 billion people, that at a point in this battle against coronavirus was hailed as one country that was launching the biggest immunization program in the world, and that was ahead of the game. The truth is that since Thursday last week, that country has been witnessing over 300,000 deaths on a daily basis, or infection
cases,
rate.
Yes.
Infection cases, I should put it. Total 1.9 million infections since the pandemic began. Mm-hmm. And today, India is the epicenter of the pandemic, ahead of the United States, ahead of Brazil, Mexico, and other countries within that axis. But what are the two issues that we can learn from here? One, global solidarity. I think it's heartening to see that various countries, Saudi Arabia, the United Kingdom, the United States, the Philippines, every country around the world, including Australia, they are rushing help to India, Germany, France. Mm-hmm. Now, I think there are lessons we can learn from that here in Nigeria. It's important to realize that, okay, you may say the figures are going down. We have done over 1 million, vaccination. You never know, because this is one virus that even the scientists are not too sure about. And I think that is the big lesson from India. Whatever the problems may be from India, politics, relaxing the lockdown too early, Narendra Modi's own political ambitions, and all of that. We need to learn a lesson from there. Now, secondly, you talked about Nigeria. Yes, I think that the government authorities should listen to the rapid response initiative of the Academy of Medicine Specialists, led by Professor Ashiru. What they are saying is, look, just be careful. Do not take any risks. The second message they are putting across is that People must continue to observe the basic protocols about safe distancing, about use of face masks and all of that. And they want that there is a variant that has emerged in Nigeria, the B.1.525 variant, which may not have already overtaken Nigeria, but which has been located in Mauritius, and which is wreaking havoc in Mauritius. So science should drive the process. We shouldn't have a situation where they say, oh, Ashiru is an Ijebu man, Ashiru is a Yoruba man. What does he know? He doesn't like a man from the north. That's why he's leading a team. No, this is about the survival of everybody. Meanwhile, the United States on Friday has already resumed the use of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And it's the same old position with regard to AstraZeneca. They are saying basically that it doesn't pose heavy risks and that the benefits outweigh the risks. And finally, if I may just refer to Baghdad, Iraq, where there was a fire incident, oxygen tanks exploding at the Al-Khatib hospital over the weekend. Now, the governor of Baghdad, the cabinet had to meet on Sunday. The governor of Baghdad has been suspended. The health minister has been suspended. This is what responsibility, this is what leadership is all about. If it were to be in some other country that we know very well, nobody will be suspended. We will be told that the governor of Baghdad has said he has nothing to do with it, and that the health minister has repented, and we will have this kind of ugliness on our hands. So there are lessons from everywhere that we can learn in Nigeria about leadership, about responsibility, about transparency, about accountability.
All right. Great. Well put together, Dr. Abati. For me, India should tell all of us something. And when you don't get it right on leadership, you can be a basket case. So it is very bad. I spoke to somebody on ground in Calcutta, in India, and what the person told me was scary. Said they can't even go to ATM machines any longer. That you are so scared that you might get to an ATM machine, someone that had COVID that touched the ATM machine, and you catch COVID from there. That it is very, very bad. And it's because their government dropped the ball. It was always about their government's interest for elections. The BJP, the Bharatiya Janata Party of Narendra Modi, was all about winning elections in the states, and that was his concern. And that's why I allowed a lot of people go out for the festival. So what are we learning from their leadership? Just like Angela Merkel was, forced not to put a lockdown in place in Germany on time when they saw the cases rising, because some people, on the other hand, were making a case for business, and the fact that Germany is about to have an election in September, so there's a lot of political dynamics as regards it. So because of leadership, and because of the fact that we want to look politically correct, Germany didn't take that decision on time, and now they have to go on a lockdown. But I'm excited that despite all of this, global solidarity has come to play. America finally is releasing those 35 ingredients that it will take to make a vaccine and ship it out to India to be able to make those vaccines again. So they have to repeal the law and look at the law again and make it possible. Secondly, as time goes on, I know the intellectual property law, the intellectual property wall too will have to fall so that you can get vaccines in and out and ensure people are vaccinated at the same time. But in all of this, global solidarity should hold sway. But thank you so much for your time, Adeswa. Really appreciate it.